Hello, I'm Carol Off.
Good evening, I'm Chris Howden. This is As It Happens, the podcast edition. Tonight,
The life aquatic. After torrential rains, parts of British Columbia are evacuated and parts are isolated by severe flooding.
a home away from homelessness. A Newfoundland woman's house becomes a shelter for people suffering in the aftermath of Hurricane Igor.
Building tension. When Israel's Prime Minister lifts a freeze on settlement construction, he risks the destruction of the Middle East peace process.
And telling tales out of stool. A British botanist gets to the bottom of a difficult question. Are grazing animals helping distribute seeds in a wetland through their manure? As It Happens, the podcast edition. Radio that's there when all is said and done. It may herald the end of the latest round of peace negotiations between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. On Sunday at midnight, a partial ban on Israeli settler developments in the West Bank was lifted, despite pleas from the international community and the Palestinian Authority to extend it. PA leader Mahmoud Abbas said he would walk away from the negotiating table should the construction freeze not be extended. In lifting the ban, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that he was recognizing the right of Israelis to build communities in the disputed territories, but cautioned settlers against inflaming tension and urged restraint at the end of the construction ban. In Shavei Shomron, a Jewish settlement in the West Bank, the end of the ban was met with open celebration. And several hours after the ban was lifted, the cornerstone of a new school was laid. David Haivri is the executive director of the Shomron Liaison Office. We reached him by cell phone in the West Bank city of Ariel.
Mr. Haivri, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has urged you to react with restraint following the end of the construction ban. Did you consider his request?
Yes, we have considered the words of Mr. Netanyahu, our Prime Minister, and we respect that. We over the past 10 months, we have not been able to build homes in our communities in Judea and Samaria, and now we are glad that the building freeze has come to an end, and now we will resume building throughout our communities.
How is it that you're showing restraint then?
Well, our restraint is not firing off fireworks and not having general assemblies to present our building. The reason for our building is the natural life of our communities. We need to grow. We have children. We have young families who are moving in, and so forth. We're not building in order to cause any conflict or demonstration, not towards our own government, not towards other governments.
But Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian leader, has said that the freeze on the construction in the occupied territories was the bare minimum for Palestinian negotiating. Would it matter to you if your efforts to continue to build meant that these peace talks were derailed?
I find that the statement a little strange from Mr. Abbas, because the freeze started 10 months ago, and Mr. Abbas only decided to come to the table in the past few weeks. So if the freeze was so meaningful for him, I would have expected him to meet with Mr. Netanyahu 10 months ago when the freeze came into effect.
But wouldn't it seem logical that that would be a bare minimum, given that if the discussion is about creating two states, then for you to continue to build while those borders have not been established is not negotiating in good faith?
I think that the negotiations are regarding peace between Arabs and Jews in Israel. And the minimum for that peace is an understanding by our Arab neighbors that Israel as a Jewish state has a right to exist. The existence of Jewish communities throughout Judea and Samaria has never been in the way of peace. Peace is an issue of living together, not living separately.
But you are building in occupied territories.
We are building in disputed territories. The area of Judea and Samaria was never part of an independent country. The state of Palestine is an idea, a concept in formation, but it's not. Israel did not occupy lands that belong to a Palestinian state because there never was a Palestinian state.
Do you see your communities as staying on the Israeli side in a two-state arrangement?
I think that the whole concept of a two-state solution should be rethought because in 2005, the Israeli government pulled out of Gaza and allowed the Palestinians to hold democratic elections And we all know that in Gaza, through the democratic elections, the Islamic Republic of Hamas was established. And that Palestinian country had been at war with Israel since Israel pulled out in 2005. I don't think that anyone would like to repeat the mistakes of Gaza again in Judea and Samaria.
So your position is...
a different concept should be considered.
And your position is a one-state solution, and how would that work for the Palestinians?
I think that the Arabs who live throughout Israel enjoy the benefits of living in the Jewish state of Israel. They have a very higher standard of living than Arabs in other countries, and they enjoy law and order and democracy. I think considering a one-state solution would be much wiser than this continued international pressure on Israel to form another Palestinian country west of the Jordan River.
There are those in the Palestinian communities, if there was a one-state solution, it could not be a Jewish state. That would be a condition of accepting such a thing, if it was possible, which it seems unlikely.
Unfortunately, the same spokespeople don't even recognize Israel as a Jewish state as it is today. So I think step by step, first of all, our neighbors should have respect for the Jewish people and respect the fact that Israel is a Jewish country. They haven't recognized that yet. And then we can move forward and look at other issues regarding the interaction between Jews and Arabs and the mutual benefits of living together in peace.
There's an interview in the New York Times over the summer in which you said that the Shomron Council, which you were part of, had fast-tracked many building approvals in anticipation of the ban, before the ban was even put into place. Did you ever actually stop construction?
We stopped 10 months ago approving new building permits, and buildings that had not passed the line of their construction were forbidden from beginning to be built. The rules that were set down 10 months ago for the building freeze stated that landowners who had building permits and had already set down foundations on their land could continue building their homes.
Is it true, as the New York Times reports, that knowing that a freeze was coming, you approved, or your council approved, more than 1,600 units in 2009, which is nearly 10 times the number that had been approved in the previous year?
That is true, and the truth is that in our regions, in the Shomron, the population growth is much greater than the population growth anywhere else in Israel. It was in 2009 and 2008, and it will probably be in 2010 as well.
Mr. Ha'ivri, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
David Ha'ivri is the executive director of the Shomron Liaison Office. We reached him on his cell phone in Ariel in the West Bank.